Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and welcome to my blog, where it's my pleasure and also mission to highlight my creative journey, both to give you specific takeaways for your own endeavors, as well as provide hopefully some inspiration along the way. Now, before I get into things, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various episodes and lessons that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly means a lot to me. So, to say that last week was a lot is an understatement, and I know, you can sort of look back at 2020 and say that every week feels like a lot, with everything happening in the world and so forth. But last week was definitely a big week, and it's tough to not talk about, what happened at the Capitol in terms of the week, right? And it certainly derailed a lot of things for me, both mentally, creatively, and all that. And not that, not that I'm complaining in that way, like, having my focus taken away from what I was working on to focus on that, I think is rightfully so. I mean, that was a major event in our lifetime that did happen. But nonetheless, because I, probably like you, have given so much of my focus to that, I'm going to choose to focus this episode on more of the creative stuff, because in spite of it, I did, towards the end of the week, make headway on certain things that I wanted to. It's one of those things that continues to be a reminder. There's things we can control and things we can't control. And so what happened as far as the Capitol, right now, the things that can be done are out of my hands. I've called my representatives, I've written letters, I've stated my opinion. I've certainly made it known on social media, more specifically Twitter. But at a certain point, it's out of my hands. It's out, the ball's not in my court, and I will continue. I hope that I have proven that I am someone that will continue, being a good citizen is an everyday act. It's not just, voting's one aspect of it, but we need to engage within our society every single day. We can't just be blind artists. I'm a firm believer in that. But as I said, right now, after everything, I'm focusing in the last couple of days to, yes, stay informed, but not let it dominate my life. And if anything, the most sobering, yet honest, unifying, and all kinds of other adjectives that I can kind of throw at it, person and / speech came out from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I'm not someone who's necessarily the biggest fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but in this sense, I thought he had a lot of wisdom to share, and did it in a calming manner, without detracting from the real issues at hand. And it was really well done. It was inspirational. It was heartfelt. And so I encourage you to really check it out. It's kind of circulated around the internet. If you just search Arnold Schwarzenegger, speech, Capitol, something along those lines, you will find it. I'll also try to link to it in the description box as well, so you can get to it a lot easier. But nonetheless, it's only like 6 minutes or so, but man, I really, really recommend it for anyone, because I think it solidifies my thoughts and feelings in a much more eloquent way than I can say at this moment. So, again, I don't, as I move on, I don't want to dismiss any of those events, but I think we could all use just a good respite and talk about something else. So I'm heading into the proof of concept shoot for In Search of Sunrise, which is my second feature film. And we're about, as of today, about 2 weeks away, give or take. And so, things are kind of coming together. So over the weekend, I did a floor plan. So I laid out, based on the storyboards that I had created earlier, I laid out, okay, where are the camera angles, where's the people, and so forth. So I did that. Then I used that, conversely, to lay out the shooting schedule. So I could know, okay, how are we going to do this? And, shot by shot. Less of kind of like a combination of a shooting schedule / shot list, right? Where I laid out, okay, this shot, from this time to this time, that's what we're going to be shooting. Normally, like a shooting schedule is more of like entire scenes and time like that. And then the shot list is kind of a lesser breakdown of that, but minus like the full time frames. So I just kind of combined the two into my own version for the purposes of this. And it's very interesting, because in some sense, I don't like to adhere to the standard increments, right? So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an increment. Usually, I would say most people, when they schedule stuff out, they do it at bare minimum increments of 5 minutes. But for me, I was like, well, there's certain shots I know I can get, 5 minutes might be too short, but 10 minutes might be too long, so let's give it 7 minutes. And to some people, that might be crazy, but I'm like, what? I know I can do it. And so, essentially, we're just shooting 3 minutes, and I've laid out everything that I want, and I'm gonna get coverage, but I'm not gonna shoot the entire scene through, the same, different angles, right? So let's say if you have a wide shot, medium shot, and close-ups, I'm not gonna shoot the entirety of the wide shot. I'm not gonna shoot the entirety of the scene as mediums and the entire scene in close-ups. I'm just gonna get the parts that I know I'm gonna utilize. Now, some might say that's risky, sure. But much like Robert Rodriguez says, like when you're your own editor, you can do this because you know exactly what you're going to use. So I'm trying to really channel that spirit of his, and especially like he did Sin City. So in this way, we're going to be filming against green screen, and I do have the actors separated out, even though they're going to be interacting together, and so that way we keep as safe as possible, for COVID reasons. And so, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be my first time. I mean, I've done it on idle in real environments where I had to cheat people interacting together. And the fact that I pulled it off in a live environment was a miracle in and of itself. So to do it against a green screen in a controlled environment feels doable, right? It's definitely more than I had to do for Idol, my first feature film, but easier in terms of its execution. So it kind of balances out in that sense. And yeah, it's going to be exciting. One of the big things that had to be worked out was I had to fill out 2 roles, the guidance counselor and the mom. And I'm not going to give more than that. I'm just kind of saying those. And it required actresses in the 35 to 50 range. And so, I was kind of reaching out and searching through various places like Backstage, asking friends and things of that nature. And, I did find some people on Backstage, but the problem was I signed up and then the verification. So you have to get verified and they do a whole like background check on you. And I'm all for it. I'm not against it, but, at this point, I'm kind of not necessarily in a time crunch, but I was just being a little bit more impatient, mentally, especially after the week of everything. I just wanted to kind of feel accomplished creatively, and so I wanted to lock down these roles by the end of the week, for better or worse. And so, one person that actually really stepped up was my friend Crystal McLaughlin. She's someone, since her days at AfterBuzz TV, I've always admired, and we've maintained a friendship and working relationship. And we did a very LA birthday short film that she's a part of. It's like a 5-minute film. I'll link to it down below if you want to check it out. It's fun. We did that together, that she acted in, and for Idol, she couldn't be directly involved, but she did help me cast certain roles. And so, I'm someone who likes to go back to the well, so to speak, and I asked her, hey, I know I'm looking to fill X, Y, and Z role. Do you have anyone in mind? And so she sent me a person that was wonderful, and in fact ended up being that person. Now, fingers crossed that goes well. Of course, all things are always subject to change, however, even when we don't think they are. So I'm not going to talk about it in the past tense because we haven't filmed it yet. But as of right now, the person that Crystal recommended is cast in the movie and is excited for it, and we're going to move forward accordingly. But there was the role. So that person is cast as the mom. The role of the guidance counselor. That was something I was kind of getting hung up on, and I was trying to reach out to various people, but just not getting responses. Not in the sense like no's, but just not getting responses. And of course, it could be because it was the weekend and things like that, and people needed some space, and I get all that, right? I don't fault anybody, but again, for me, I just really wanted to nail this down, and so I was just anxious, and if I wasn't getting answers, in certain places, then I was going to go look elsewhere. And not that I'm someone that like is all about like speed and things like that. Like you have to be always on it, otherwise you miss the opportunity. But I do think there's some aspect of it where these people. I'm not proclaiming that my movie is like this end all be all breakout role or something like that. But in general, right? I'm speaking on general terms. I do see moments where people just by not responding, by not kind of being aware of things and checking in on things, the opportunity passes them by, and I can't help but think of that when this happens. So, but also in that regard, if people do respond to me, like for example, there's someone that I've known for a while that I called at the start of the week. And I said, hey, I would love for you to play this role. Let me send you over the info. Why don't you have a chance to review it? And why don't we speak Monday, and you can let me know your thoughts. And that was basically, I gave her a week, and so I felt that was fair, especially since the portion that we're ultimately filming is 3 minutes. And guess what? I honored that. I stayed with it, and we checked in today, and she said yes. So cool. We're moving forward, and I'll talk about that aspect of it because there's other tidbits there in terms of lessons. But going back to the guidance counselor. So one of the things, as I was kind of thinking, I just, it's funny how all these things work, right? When you're someone trying to solve a problem. Ultimately, here's what I don't think most people on the other end really think about. For someone like me, I'm ultimately trying to solve a problem, and if there's an easy way to solve the problem that I'm trying to fix for, I'm going to take that, right? It's not necessarily a laziness, but there's just so many different things happening that, yeah, of course, you want to make your life easier. So where I'm going with this is I hit Crystal back up and said, hey, do you have any, the first person you recommend was fantastic. I like her, she's in. Do you have anyone for the role of the guidance counselor? And then as I texted it, five minutes later, I was like, wait, why am I asking her to recommend somebody else? Why don't I just ask her if she wants to do that? She's a little bit younger for the role, but I just thought of Citizen Kane, and a lot of those actors were like in their early 20s, and they did makeup tricks on them to make them look, sometimes they were 80, sometimes they were 50, and every age you can possibly imagine, and it looked better than even what this like deep fake CGI stuff looks like for people, right? It like, watch Citizen Kane if you've never seen it. You can't tell that through makeup tricks and hairstyles and so forth. Like it's really incredible. So I said, why don't if you're up for it, why don't we try something similar with you? We'll age you a little bit, maybe add a gray streak here or there, and why don't you play the role? And so she's like, yeah, so as of now, she would play the guidance counselor. Again, who knows how things on. It's 2021 seems kind of like a continuation of 2020, but nonetheless, as of now, she will play that part. And so it's another benefit to just kind of maintaining relationships with people, being present, and conversely, because it's not just always about me, right? This is not always her serving me necessarily, but she knows anytime that she needs me, I'm going to be there for her, and I will gladly help. And so, and now even more so, right? So I'm really kind of excited in that. So yeah, we're planning on January 23rd to film everything. I've laid out the COVID protocol to people and how we're going to do that. Again, it's not without risk, but I'm basically the only crew member. There's only going to be a few instances where two actors are interacting at the same time. Not that is without risk, but COVID tests and all that in advance and multiple times and so forth. So we're going to be as safe about it as possible, and I'm really excited going into this. I think it's really exciting, and everyone on board, through this process, I'm really excited at their excitement. They're not just doing it of like, oh, okay, sure, I'll do it. No, they're like, yeah, let's do this, right? And I sense their passion, which feeds me and makes me, I'm always someone. I don't look at leadership anything more than just, you expect me to execute on X, Y, and Z, and conversely, I have that same respect for you. And so, even though it's at my direction, well, I don't put myself higher, because at the end of the day, they expect me to deliver on the things that I should deliver on, and conversely, I expect them to deliver on the things that they deliver on. And so, and the fact that there's this aspect of mutual appreciation and excitement, to me, there's nothing better. And I'm really excited. Ideas creatively are already flowing. So, truly, truly excited by that. So, really, really excited. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing. And so going back to the thing I kind of alluded to. So one of my friends, the one that I gave the week for to review the role, she's going to be playing a small role in the proof of concept, but a large role in terms of what the feature overall would be. And so, part of that was I went over that with her, and there's a couple of complicated shots. There's only, she would be only in 2 shots, but they're a little bit more complicated. So I said, are you, comfortable doing these shots, and kind of working with me to really get the intended effect? It might take a few takes and things like that. And she was really excited, and so yeah, moving forward in that respect. So. The other aspect of this that remains is, before we film the green screen stuff, I really want to, there's a scene that takes place in an auditorium, kind of like a prep school auditorium stage, and I want to have those photographed beforehand, because of course I know the angles and things like that, how I want it to overall work, but nonetheless, based on a real location, those could be in theory subject to change. And so I want to make sure that that I am aware of that before filming the green screen stuff. And so I'm looking at locations to these auditoriums to just go down for 30, 45 minutes and literally just myself with a photo camera, take pictures, and those will be the backdrops for for the green screen stuff of the auditorium. So that's kind of my next hurdle right now. There's one location that is open to it, and we're scheduling that. The only downside being that it doesn't quite have the look that I'm looking for. I'm looking for like a prep school type of vibe. But if I don't find what I'm kind of looking for, then I might just kind of adjust the dialogue slightly to fit the fact that it's not that. So we'll see how that goes. There's, again, like all things, really producing is really all about just problem solving, right? So if I can't get photos of the location, the ideal location, then I'll make it work creatively. And there's ways to do that the script allows without it hindering the product. So excited for that. The other creative aspect that I was working on, so I finished editing a film for one of my friends. And so we were going through notes of the edit. And actually, very simple notes. So that was kind of very encouraging. But for me, one of hesitations going into it, I asked him kind of very upfront of, we'll address all your notes and things like that, but how involved do you want me to be? Do you want me to be just a button pusher and just make the edits and, call it that? Because if so, that'll be the easiest gig of my life, especially if, these are the notes and they're so few. Or do you want me to suggest things and you can either yay or nay them? And so he was open to it, and that was very encouraging. I'm not, again, listen, if my role for somebody, right, I'm kind of doing this as a favor to them, but nonetheless, that doesn't mean I don't want it to, give my input, right? And so, but at the same time, I'm not going to overstep. So if he said no, I would have respected that. But he did say yes, and so it kind of felt very encouraging in that sense. And so what I told him, I said, we went through his notes, and he loved it. And then I said, listen, I know your original intent with this was to kind of have it, 20 minutes or under. We're over that by, a good size. I said, allow me to really just go for it and cut it down, like to a point where, I'll even try to get it down to 12 minutes, And I said, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be missing. And some of it, you're going to be like, oh, whoa, that's too much. But some you might like. And all I ask is you go into it. I'm not saying that what I'm about to do is the right decision. But, editing really is just playing with things, right? And so I said to him, let's, just give me this. We'll watch it. And then we can assess, okay, what about it works in terms of the short edit? So that way we can cut stuff that we don't need in the edit currently. And what about it is like, okay, that's just too much. We got to bring back, right? And that's really all editing kind of really is you make this thing that's intended based off the script and you see it for as it was intended, and generally is long and doesn't work, right? Nobody's fault. It's just, that's just kind of the process. And sometimes you can do it through trimming down certain moments, sometimes you let things breathe. And so, just by trimming stuff, you can chop down a good chunk, especially like if you have a 2-hour movie, you might be able to chop it down to an hour and 50, maybe an hour and 45 just by trimming things here and there without deleting storylines or scenes or things like that. But in this sense, I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to really play with it, maybe get rid of some stuff, maybe overlap some stuff. We'll see. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do with it, but yeah, and that's what it is. And then you try that, and then you backtrack. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's really what editing is. And that's how you get to a better product, because you don't, without trying stuff on for size, you're never going to know if that's the best combination, right? Editing, in editing, there's a term called sequencing, right? and you're never going to know the best sequence until you actually try it. How is it like? It's kind of it's the same thing with writing or anything really. Creatively, like the first go at it, it's like, okay, that worked. That's fine. Maybe it is good, but what does it look like from here? What does it look like from here? Is that better? And you explore that. And so, as long as people are willing to go on that exploration with me, I'll go too. Right. So that's creatively, that's the big stuff. I did also start revising chapters of my book. I only did 2, which I don't know, depending on your definition, might sound like a lot, might sound like a little to me. Since I'm only doing revisions, it really wasn't that much, but it was a good jump start to kind of get me going, because I kind of put it off for a little bit and things of that nature, and so just to get back in the groove was good. So I did that, and yeah, that's the main focus really being the film, the proof of concept itself. So yeah, that's kind of been my week and what I've been up to, apart from observing what has been happening in our world. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. I appreciate you. I hope you have gained something from this. If you have any questions or comments, by all means, please write them down below, or hit me up on social media at Svitek. I would be glad to converse with you. I hope you know that by now, and if you think this episode might offer something for someone in your life, by all means, please share it with them. I certainly would appreciate it. I appreciate you, and hope to see you next time.